Boston the Big Dig. Boston is a masterclass in undoing urban mistakes. For decades, the elevated Central Artery, Interstate 93, was a brutal scar cutting straight through the heart of the city. This highway didn't just divide neighborhoods, it cast literal shadows over historic streets and blocked access to the waterfront. The noise and pollution made entire districts unlivable. Then came the Big Dig, one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in American history. Boston made the bold decision to bury 3.5 miles of this monstrous highway deep underground. In its place, they created the Rose Kennedy Greenway, a stunning ribbon of parks, fountains, and public spaces. Suddenly, neighborhoods that had been severed for 40 years were reconnected. The waterfront became accessible again, sparking a renaissance in property values and quality of life. This wasn't just construction, it was urban surgery. Boston proved that highways don't have to be permanent wounds, and that cities can heal themselves with vision and commitment. Seoul Cheonggyecheon. Seoul is a pioneer in choosing nature over concrete. For over half a century, the Cheonggyecheon Stream, a beautiful waterway that had flowed through the city for 600 years, was buried beneath an ugly elevated highway. This highway symbolized Korea's rush to modernize, but it came at a terrible cost. The area became polluted, noisy, and lifeless. In 2003, Seoul's leaders made a decision that shocked everyone: demolish the highway and bring the stream back to life. Today, an 11-kilometer-long green corridor runs through the heart of Seoul, where the highway once stood. The restoration didn't just create a park, it cooled the urban heat island effect by several degrees. Property values soared, businesses flourished, and millions of visitors now stroll along the revitalized waterway. This project became a global symbol of urban renewal. Seoul demonstrated that even the most car-dependent cities can reverse course, and that sometimes the best way forward is to look back at what was lost. San Francisco Embarcadero. San Francisco turned a disaster into an opportunity. The 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake severely damaged the Embarcadero Freeway, a double-decked monstrosity that blocked the city's stunning waterfront. For years, this ugly concrete barrier had hidden the bay from downtown, creating a dark, uninviting corridor. After the earthquake, the city faced a choice: rebuild it or tear it down. Despite fierce opposition from those who couldn't imagine life without it, San Francisco chose demolition. The result was nothing short of miraculous. Suddenly, the waterfront was visible again, with breathtaking views of the Bay Bridge and the water. The ferry building, once trapped behind concrete, became a world-class destination with farmers' markets and artisan shops. Property values in the area exploded. Pedestrians and cyclists reclaimed the waterfront boulevard. San Francisco proved that removing a highway isn't just possible. It can actually improve traffic flow, economic vitality, and urban beauty all at once. Paris, Promenade Planty. Paris is the pioneer that inspired a global movement. Long before New York's famous High Line, Paris created the world's first elevated park on an abandoned railway line. The old Vincennes railway line, built in 1859, had been left to decay after trains stopped running in 1969. Instead of tearing it down, Paris transformed it into the Promenade Planty, a 4.7-kilometer green walkway floating above the streets. This elevated garden opened in 1993 and changed everything. Suddenly, pedestrians could stroll through lush plantings, rose arbors, and bamboo groves, high above the bustling city below. Beneath the Viaduct des Arts brought new life with artisan workshops and boutiques filling the arches. The surrounding Bastille neighborhood was completely revitalized. This wasn't just a park. It was a blueprint. Cities around the world took notice and started reimagining their own abandoned infrastructure. Paris proved that obsolete transit lines don't have to be demolished. They can become the city's most beloved public spaces. Milwaukee, Park East Freeway. Milwaukee is proof that highway removal works for mid-sized cities, too. The Park East Freeway was a stub of concrete that divided downtown from the lakefront, serving far fewer cars than predicted. It was a relic of 1960s highway planning that never made sense. In 2003, Milwaukee made the courageous decision to tear it down completely. The freeway was replaced with a simple, tree-lined boulevard that reconnected the street grid. What happened next surprised even the optimists. The newly accessible land sparked over $840 million in private development within just a few years. New apartments, offices, and retail spaces filled the void where the highway once stood. Neighborhoods that had been cut off for decades were suddenly connected again. The project became a national model, showing smaller cities that they don't need to live with infrastructure mistakes forever. Milwaukee proved that removing highways isn't just for wealthy megacities. It's an economic catalyst that any city can use to reinvent itself. Rochester, Inner Loop. Rochester is a city slowly escaping from its concrete moat. The inner loop was a sunken highway that encircled downtown like a medieval fortress ditch, except instead of protection, it brought isolation. This depressed freeway cut off the city center from surrounding neighborhoods, making downtown feel like an island nobody wanted to visit. Businesses fled, buildings sat empty, and the city hemorrhaged population. In 2017, Rochester began filling in the eastern section of this urban moat. The sunken highway was replaced with a pedestrian-friendly boulevard lined with trees and bike lanes. Almost immediately, new mixed-use developments began rising on the reclaimed land. Housing, retail, and offices brought life back to streets that had been dead for half a century. The transformation is still ongoing, but the message is clear: Rochester is healing. This project became a blueprint for dozens of other Rust Belt cities trapped by similar infrastructure. Rochester proved that revival is possible, one filled-in highway section at a time. Portland, Harbor Drive. Portland was the trailblazer that started it all. In 1974, when most American cities were still building highways as fast as possible, Portland did the unthinkable. It tore one down. Harbor Drive was a 4-lane waterfront highway that blocked access to the beautiful Willamette River. The highway turned the riverbank into a noisy, polluted barrier that nobody wanted to be near. Portland's leaders made a revolutionary choice to remove it completely. In its place, they created Tom McCall Waterfront Park, a 36-acre green oasis stretching along the river. This was America's first major highway removal, and people thought it was insane. Critics predicted traffic chaos and economic disaster. Instead, the opposite happened. The park became the heart of the city, hosting festivals, farmers markets, and millions of visitors annually. Downtown Portland thrived like never before. This single decision set a precedent that echoed across the nation for decades. Portland proved that cities don't have to accept bad infrastructure as permanent, and that bold leadership can rewrite a city's destiny. Madrid M30 Burial. Madrid is the champion of ambitious urban transformation. The M30 Ring Highway was strangling the Manzanares River, cutting the city off from one of its greatest natural assets. This massive, elevated highway was a constant roar of traffic, pollution, and visual blight. Between 2003 and 2007, Madrid undertook one of Europe's most audacious infrastructure projects, burying over 10 kilometers of the M30 in tunnels deep underground. The scale was staggering, requiring cutting-edge engineering and an investment of billions. But the result was worth every euro. On top of the buried highway, Madrid created Madrid Rio, a spectacular 10-kilometer-long park along the riverbanks. Playgrounds, bike paths, cultural spaces, and urban beaches transformed the area into the city's new living room. Hundreds of thousands of residents saw their quality of life improve overnight. Neighborhoods that had been isolated were suddenly connected. Madrid didn't just remove a highway, it reclaimed its river and its soul. This project proved that with vision and commitment, even the most daunting urban challenges can be overcome. Ultimately, all these cities show us that highways don't have to be permanent scars.